All right, let's do it. Great day, great day, great day, great morning or afternoon, depending on where you're listening to this from. If you're tuning into this on the Move Swiftly podcast, give me a moment here to just get all the platforms good. Facebook, what's happening? Facebook, what's happening? And share out everything. You guys know, recently started putting it all together in one recording. Hey, on the Move Swiftly. Do the live stream in the morning and then decide to take that recording and put it on the Move Swiftly podcast. Just, to get the most efficient use out of everyone's most valuable resource, which is time. Time is the most valuable resource. Use it wisely. All right, here we go. Make your move Monday kickoff question. You know how we do. We get something thought-provoking. We make sure we're on track, on point, doing what we need to do to get our systems right. We get something thought-provoking. We make sure we're on track, on point. All right, let's get it. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time you may be tuning into this, whatever time of day it is when you're tuning into this. Just have a great moment. Welcome. All right. So first of all, let me introduce myself to anybody that may be new to my world or may be new to me. My name, As1 Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. What I do, what I created, what the whole Move Swiftly business is all about is taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and organizations and business owners so they have a group of employees, they have a staff, they have a group of people that move as cohesively, as eagerly, as strong. They have that passion that a championship high school or youth football team has. That's what we do. That's the result that you're going to get when you decide to work with me and when you decide to buy in to the Move Swiftly brand. So what we do here every single Monday, go ahead and pull out the receipts if you would like. We do something called a Make Your Move Monday kickoff question, where we take something thought-provoking, something that I picked up throughout the week. And again, my mind is like a system where I'm constantly thinking about stuff, constantly writing stuff down, constantly, I'll pull it out right here, constantly got this notepad on me, whatever something might come up, or if I don't have the notepad on me, I'll pull up my phone, make a little note of it, say, hey, this is something I got to address. It's something I got to talk about. It's something I got to flesh out. It's something I get a little deeper. That's what happens when you observe and you pay attention, right? So, this week we're going to be diving into the importance of systems, diving in heavily into the importance of systems, because if you don't have a system, if you're not working towards that system, if you're not constantly tweaking a system, then ultimately you start putting too much pressure on yourself, and no human being out there is able to build a successful business on their own. It doesn't happen by yourself. You have got to work with people. You've got to be vulnerable enough to let people in and let people know, hey, I need help with certain things. And throughout the entire week, that's what I was picking up on. If you guys go back and look at my recordings from a week ago, there was a trip, actually, it's still going on. I teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education, in which we have a group of students here from the UK, and we're traveling a lot. We're doing a lot of cool things. And again, when you're bringing new things into a business, or you're bringing new routine into certain things, systems are so important, because without a system, a lot of stuff gets exposed, a lot of holes get exposed in terms of what it is you want to do and what it is you try to do. So before I get too into the weeds of today's topic, let me get through a few announcements really, really quick, and then we will jump right in. There's several things that I'm going to have to show you today, because the topic is something that I've discussed in many ways, but I've discussed it in different formats, right? Because I I'm always, and nobody, I don't give a shit who it is, nobody just has a perfect system. Every system in some way, shape, form, or fashion needs to be retooled, needs to be tweaked a little bit, needs to be put in this and do that. It's just always a little bit of a lens. It's almost like you're taking a picture, and it's always like you just got to adjust the lens here. You got to adjust the lens there. You got to adjust the lens there. But you always, or your system always has to have a base, but you're always adjusting the lens to make it so you can fit the moment. You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm getting it. I'm so excited to talk about this topic today. I'm forgetting to do the announcements. Anyway, first and foremost, West Palm Beach, Florida. If you are interested in free boxing lessons, be sure to go to freeboxinglessons.makeyourmove.com. I put them on every 2 weeks as a group leader of my church group. I've been doing it now for a couple months. We're starting to get a good group of people showing up. And if you are listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, the website is freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. That's freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. If you're watching this visually, just hit the QR code that you see right there on the screen. All right, as I mentioned, business owners, here to serve you, here to help you, here to work with you. I create the products and the services and the ideas and the concepts and the content. Everything I do is based on how to make you a better business owner, so you can create a team that sticks around. We want to reduce retention. Say it with me, folks. Reduce retention. The opposite. Reduce turnover. We want to create retention and reduce turnover. So I'll say it again. We want to reduce turnover and create retention. Reduce turnover and create retention. All right. Retention rates need to go up. People need to be staying in your business, and you want to reduce the constant turnover that you are that most likely, especially with the way the world is working with AI and all that kind of stuff. What is happening in this world is there's constant turnover because people are simply moving on to what they feel is greener pastures or what they feel is better, when you are not doing the things that you need, because you're not doing the things that you need to do as a business owner to make sure you're retaining folks. All right. So make sure you're go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. All right. I created a free, something that's 1,000% free. All you do, put your information in, and I've put a 10-step process, 10 bullet points, and the things that you could be doing right now to create retention. All right. Create a solid retention system in your business so you're able to track people's performance and track their performance based on what their strengths are. That's the key. All right. Just tracking performance is one thing, and it is something that a lot of times comes from some corporate world. But when you're tracking performance and it's based on the things that your actual employee have a strength at and they need to improve on, then you start getting somewhere. All right. So again, we're reducing turnover, because I misspoke earlier. I was saying it wrong earlier, but we're reducing turnover and creating retention, making sure retention rates are going up and reducing the turnover. All right. And finally, Patreon. Be sure to tap into the Patreon link. That's patreon.com/Aswand44. And let me just put the slide up real quick for the viewers that are tuning into this via visually. Everything is there it is. Yeah, everything is available on makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. As you can see here, you can shop now. You could join the Patreon. You could book me to speak, or you could simply learn more about Aswan Cruikshank, or you can tune into the #1 podcast on innovative teamwork, which is hosted by yours truly, the Move Swiftly podcast, the one that you may or may not be listening to this episode on. All right. Now, all that being said, let's get into today's topic. What system does your business connect with the most? What system does your business connect with the most? All right. Now, let's get a clear understanding of what a system is and what a system does, what it's a part of, we'll get a clear definition of it. And the article that just dropped, I have it clearly defined right here in the article that just dropped just a couple hours ago, as you can see, just 4 hours ago, that goes with. So again, for those of you guys who don't, this is going to be an example of how important having a system is. Every time I do one of these live streams, or no, just between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, there's an article that goes with the actual live stream. And what I do to prepare for the week is I sit down, I write out an article. I don't have notes for the show or anything like that, but I do have an article that coincides with the actual live stream. That's also part of what goes into the description, what goes into the caption. But the first thing that gets done is an article gets written out. So it comes at people in different formats, right? So most of the time, especially Monday through Wednesday, when you hear me speaking on live stream, there's also an article that goes with what I'm going to be talking about on medium.com, right? And here, I'm going to read it to you directly. When it comes to what a system is, let's unpack. Like I said, like it's written right here in the article. We first and foremost have to get a clear definition on what a system is. All right, so here it is. Here's the definition. Here's a very easy to understand definition of it. It's the word system. A system is simply a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network. It's unseen structure behind visible success, the quiet engine behind bold moves. And let me tell you, this topic took me back to something that I had learned a year ago. Not only did I learn it, but I put a video out about this particular topic. All right, because we were given. In fact, let me just pull it up because I want you guys to see. So if you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, I want to give you some understanding of what I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm going to my YouTube channel, and this is something that I actually did this weekend. I did this weekend because when stuff like this comes up, in which I may have to somewhat repeat some things that I may have said in the past, I sometimes, spend the time going through all of the thousands of videos that I already have, or posts or whatever it is, and trying to find the thing where I said that particular thing and all that kind of stuff. And then this weekend, I just discovered my YouTube channel has an actual search button. So I just searched up the thing that I wanted to find, and boom, I found it. So I'm going to do that right now live for you guys to see. It was a video that I put out about approximately 11 months ago that is titled, "Who's the Actual Founder of the Company?" All right. So actually, before I do that, let me just kind of explain some things to you. So the way this works is I'll put out the Make Your Move kickoff question, whatever the question is, and then I answer the question. And as I'm answering the question, my goal, my vision, I encourage you guys as owners or whatever, wherever you are in whatever is bringing you to my world, whatever is bringing you to my world and keeping you in my world, I answer the question with the goal of making it so you guys are being helped along in the process. All right. So the question is, what system does your business connect with? The answer to that question for me is Under Armour, the Under Armour system. All right, the Under Armour system, in which we all know everyone is some would argue, again, one of the things I actually said in the article was, some would argue the biggest and the most famous brand in the entire world because of how simple the concept was when it got started. All right, they basically Kevin Plank, the founder of the company, he took tight, stretchy t-shirts. He took cotton t-shirts as a former football player. He noticed how bulky it was when you're wearing all these big cotton underneath your shoulder pads and all that. So it simply took this simple concept of putting football players in performance gear underneath their pads, and then that be the thing that build out his business and all that. Again, I'll be dissecting. We'll be talking more about Kevin Plank as we move forward throughout the week. However, I remember having this same kind of conversation with myself about 11 months ago when we were given a lesson. Again, for those of you who don't know, I do teach. We were given a lesson on interdependence, So we're talking about interdependence and how this worked and how that worked. And I remember asking a colleague of mine, what company is she interdependent with and what her thoughts are on interdependence and all that. And again, for me, whenever the connection comes, I realize how Under Armour is the company for me that connects the best. The system that they've put in place is the thing that connects the best. So here's what I did. I went and looked up the video that I had, and it found what I put in, like what I talked about a whole year ago. I found it a whole lot quicker. So let me do it real quick for you guys. Who is the founder? And no, that wasn't. It was who actually founded the company, right? Who actually founded the company? Oh, where is it? Founded the company. There it is, right? See, yeah. Who founded the company, right? So who founded the company? Who actually founded the company, right? Actually founded the company. And it was Move Swiftly Thought 890. And I had a similar conversation. So I want to let this play real quick. I want to let this play because letting this play is gonna help when it comes to understanding how powerful systems can be and how systems could simply just be recreated and recreated and recreated and recreated. So let me let this play. Let me let this play real quick. Yep, let me let it play. And then
when I started Walton goggle glasses, I needed a website. Figuring out how to make one was pretty hard on the old noggin.
All right.
Yeah. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork that you will not get anywhere else. Rough one today. 2 rough days in a row. Didn't hit the projected goal today was 10 miles. Fell short of like 7.3. Again, days like this, I know why. I don't hide from it. I make sure I put it on camera. The days I do hit my goals and the days I don't hit my goals. I want to re-emphasize the importance of putting it all on camera, putting it all out there. So when people feel your brand, when people feel your business, when people feel your presence, they know it's authentic. It's as authentic as you can make it. All right. Because again, I don't just get on this camera and talk when I hit my goal in mileage. I'll talk when I fall short of my goal, when I know I did things that I didn't do things or did things that I shouldn't have done in order for me to hit the goal the next morning, right? And in this morning's case, it's kind of feel like it was just a lack of rest. It's one of those things where woke up really, really early, couldn't go back to sleep. And instead of trying to go back to sleep, I just said, fuck it, let's go. And then the crash came later, like during the run and things like that, because it was more of a fatigue thing. And just, again, lack of rest. I'm trying to do 10 miles on maybe about maybe 3.5, 4 hours of sleep, which isn't the best strategy. But again, if you can't go back to sleep, there's no point in you just sitting there in the bed. Wake up, go get it, go knock out the things that you need to knock out. And that actually saying all that brings me to today's Move Swiftly thought, which is something that happened organically. Again, this is all entrepreneurship, all authentic, impromptu stuff, to the point where I could plan to talk about something one day and then something can happen immediately in my day, and then my entire topic switches the next morning, right? So, excuse me. For those of you who do not know, I teach at a charter school named Center for Creative Education. And one of the things that we were going over yesterday with it's K through 5th grade, grades K through 5th. So I work primarily with the 2nd graders. And one of the things we were going over in our social studies discussion yesterday was interdependence. We taught the kids what it meant to be interdependent, meaning if you have a business like selling clothes, you are interdependent with the Walmart that pushes your brand or pushes your product, or the Dick's Sporting Goods that pushes your product, right? And we gave them examples. Or if you're a farmer, you're interdependent with the grocery stores that's gonna, push the products, you're gonna sell the products to, and the grocery stores got to sell those products to consumers. So a lot of us are, everyone is in some way, shape, form, or fashion interdependent on something else. And it got me thinking about the type of companies that I'm interdependent with, or that I would love to collaborate with and work with. And, you know, if there was, there was actually, here's what happened. It was after school, and another colleague of mine, shout out to Miss Shea, who also is in business for herself as well. She runs a company that's all about mindset, wellness, and life coaching. That's it. Yeah, she runs a business that's all about life coaching and things of that nature. So, you know, she's probably the main one, the only one, to be honest with you, I get in the entire building I get to talk to about these kinds of ideas. I get to flesh out these ideas with and things of that nature. She actually joined me, it was like last month, I think it was now, at the Tony Robbins workshop out here in Palm Beach. She did a free workshop, and, you know, she's into self-development as much as I am, right? So I asked her, you know, what companies do you think you're interdependent with? And then she named off the companies that she would work with, that she would love to work with, and things like that. And then I started thinking about mine, or what my company would be if I, you know, again, if there was one company I could pick that I'd be interdependent with, and if I could just take everything I've done and give it to that company, and how much we can grow, how much I would love to work with them. And I thought of it. I said, I would love to do something with Under Armour, right? Under Armour. And her response is what inspired today's Move Swiftly Thought. She goes, Under Armour, oh yeah, that's the Rocks company, right? And I was like, what? No, that is not the Rocks company. And the thing is, what's funny about it is I understood why she thought it was, because in fact, in my book, The Six-Figure Athlete, I did a chapter in the book titled The Six-Figure Athlete. For the longest time, if I didn't grow up in Maryland, where the founder of Under Armour, by the way, the founder of Under Armour is a guy named Kevin Plank from Silver Spring, Maryland. And if I didn't grow up in Silver Spring, Maryland, I would have not known that either, right? Because for the longest time, it wasn't until after I was through playing football that I realized the founder of the company was not the guys that we saw in commercials, was not the football players that we saw in commercials. I thought that was their company too. So got me thinking about how do you actually reinforce your message? Well, first of all,
I've been on Shopify from the beginning. The platform is just never a worry. Like, I have so many worries, but the platform.
How well do you run your company? All right. When it comes to the type of company that you run, when it comes to the type of business that you run, who you work with, just saying that, just that story in itself should give you as a shining example of how important it is to connect and collaborate with the right people that have the right message, that you can put your products and services in front of, and that can take your company to the next level. Because as I did more and more research on it, because I understood, because I knew The Rock was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's actually the only pro athlete that Under Armour has ever done a deal with that isn't an actual pro athlete. So it was all collaboration. It was all how much can you sell. It was all how many things can you actually do for the company. And it came out. I'm not sure if it's still the case, but I know that there was a point where his collaboration with Under Armour, they call it Project X, by the way, is where Under Armour got its most, at one point, it created the most sales for the entire company. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but the point still remains the same, is when you're building your business, everything is about who you're collaborating with, who you're connecting with, and who's allowing you to grow, to the point in which there are newcomers into your business that don't even know, that may not even know you're the founder of the company. You could be right there, like Kevin Plank could walk right past Miss Shea, and no one would know who that person actually is. And that is a great, great thing. That takes a selfless act. That takes someone who's saying to themselves, look, again, I know my place. I know what I can do. Now let's connect people enough. Let's network enough. Let's leverage enough so we can allow other people to build the brand and we create win-win situations. That's what it's all about, guys. That's the point. That's the point of these machines that we have. That's the point of this new form of technology that we have, where we're able to communicate with so many different people. It is so, so very important that you figure out who you would be interdependent with and all that kind of stuff. So, by the way, I will do a written article on this because
so that was close to a year ago now, and I wanted to play that. First of all, I want to show you how I found it, because having that library of material, having that much material, you go look up, something comes up, you're able to look it up, and that system helps me find the stuff. But then you're also able to take what you said a whole year ago and then align it to what goes on now. And that creates more content, that continues to create lessons, that continues to create topics, because the things what your system needs to have, your system needs to have a period in which you're constantly bringing somebody new into your world. You're constantly adding some new things. It's almost like the old saying, build your well while you're still thirsty, build your thing while you're still in a situation where you are, developing and you are finding people, you have a good amount of people in your audience. Okay, constantly have a system in which you're outreach, in which you're doing things to bring new people in your world. And when you develop and you connect people the right way, the same thing I was discussing that I was referring to with the connection between The Rock and Under Armour is like, look, The Rock is taking the company to a completely different level. It's no longer just a company that creates tight, stretchy t-shirts. Now, The Rock has taken it to the point where, again, like I was mentioning, his connection, his collaboration has created the most sales for the other company. Now, again, you might have to fact check me on the details with that, but I wouldn't doubt if it's true. I would not at all doubt if that were true, given all the things that he does. It wasn't just a matter of, it's not just a matter of selling, or it wasn't just a matter of him being in one location. He was a worldwide star, whether it's acting, whether it's the UFL, whether it's some of the stuff that he used to do with wrestling. There was so many things that The Rock, represented, that it was like, look, you do a deal with him and it creates more people, a whole brand new landscape of people coming into the Under Armour brand, which is where I have to take you. All right, right there, saying that in itself is exactly where it is I want to take you, because let's go back to the article here. As we explore the system, all right, and again, like I said, the answer to my question, my answer to this question, by the way, discussing, if you're just joining us, Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. The question is, what system does your business connect with? And oh yes, before I even go forward, make sure you like, comment, and share this video. All right, I'm doing these regularly. I've now, as I've been getting solid reviews about my work, and having people getting the support that I personally have struggled with getting. One of the things that has been difficult for me when it comes to business is not having the supportive person to help me through it. And I was talking to her last night, and she was like, look, you got to start saying it more often in your videos. Be sure to like, comment, share, and leave a review. Leave a review wherever it is you may be listening to this. Make sure you leave a review, like, comment, do something, just engage in some sort of way, because when you do that, it builds out the algorithms, and that's what makes it so I'm able to continue with this work and able to continue to give you this information. So again, like, comment, share, leave a review, leave some sort of, put something out there. Let people know, let me know that what it is, if I'm connecting with you, or if there's something that I'm saying that's resonating with you. Like, comment, share. All right. So again, discussing what the question is what system does your business connect with the most? All right, that's what we're discussing. For myself, the answer to this question is Under Armour. All right, now when it comes to, I'm going to read this part. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from the article. Again, an article that you can go read the whole thing for yourself on medium.com. All right. It's Why Under Armour. I have it written here, and I'm reading directly from the article today. It says, because Kevin Plank, the founder, is from my hometown area in Maryland. He went to St. John's, a rival high school of mine. Back then, as players for Good Counsel, again, that's where I played. I played my high school football at Good Counsel. We'd watch them show up in fresh Under Armour gear, and we admire it and study it. That is the absolute truth. Never forget that. I will never forget. It was like back when I played, 7-on-7 wasn't as big as it is now. There weren't all these third-party scholastic influences, influencing these high school kids to go 7-on-7, go create all these little scholastic things and all this. Basically third-party folks that are pushing their stuff on kids. Now, granted, again, I went to a high school that had a lot of resources, and a lot of other kids didn't have that opportunity. So that's a debate for another day, another time. All right, in terms of all the 7-on-7 camps. All right. So anyway, the 7-on-7s that we went to, they were run by actual high schools, and the high school coaches were there, and they ran it the right way. And and that they do great. That's usually how it was normally done back when I played. So there happened to be a 7-on-7 a big tournament that we went to at Good Counsel, and we saw St. John's. We saw St. John's there competing as well. And let me tell you, we were wearing these old practice jerseys. We're Good Counsel. We beat their ass on the field every year. Every year we beat St. John's on the field. I have not lost to the St. John's Cadets one time. All right, that we don't lose to St. John's at Good Counsel. We don't tolerate that bullshit. All right, but if we're just talking about uniforms. We saw St. John. We see St. John's over there. They're competing in their 7-on-7, and they got the newest Under Armour stuff. Their stuff is looking tight, clean. Under Armour cleats, socks, gloves, the whole thing. The boys looking clean, and we over there like, what the hell going on here? Like, and I remember it was actually Danny who said, Danny, he lives in Palm Beach now with in the area I currently live in now. And he was saying, like, why is St. John's fresh everywhere they go? They got to have the nicest stuff. And it all kind of got said that, look, the founder of Under Armour went to St. John's. So they're gonna get broke off nice. They looking on point, right? So that's what we do. It was back then, as players from Good Counsel, we watched them show up in fresh Under Armour gear, and we'd admire it. So even now, currently, my 13-year-old nephew, who is like showing as an athlete, he is aspiring to go to St. John's because my sister put him in all sorts of camps. He was going to all sorts of camps when he was a kid, and they would put them in Under Armour material. This is what Under Armour does. They put the kids in Under Armour material, and they start to associate themselves with the kids. They start feeling like they're part of the brand when they're kids, especially when you're out there, you're competing, you're playing, you're doing your thing. You start to see what they're doing. You start to see the system that they're putting in place for the kids' mindset. It's all mental stuff. It's all strategic stuff, right? And while I recognize, and then here's what happens, right? So here's what happens. Even now, my 13-year-old nephew is obsessed with that program, and that program I'm referring to Under Armour. Right? It might have changed as he's getting older. I think, to be honest with you, I personally think he is going to end up at going to DeMatha, since he lives right there, which is another program that I'm not too fond of, being a Good Counsel guy, a Good Counsel graduate. But that if he goes there, then I'm obviously going to have to support. I'm going to have to support wherever he goes. So anyway. When it comes to, even now, my 13-year-old nephew is obsessed with that program. And while I recognized early that I wasn't going in the NFL, I still want to be successful. Kevin Plank's story hit home. It showed me that you can win big, not just on the field, but by thinking differently. Period, point blank, right there. Gotta pause right there. 99% of the people who play the game of football, 99%, are not going to make it to the NFL. 99% are not going to make it to the NFL. 99% are not going to be good enough to play at the collegiate level. All right. Which means when that hits home for 99% of the people that you see playing the game of football, the question now becomes, what the hell are you going to do when the game is over? What the hell it is are you going to spend your time doing when you have committed yourself to being a part of this game for so long? And when you get a story like that, where this person is making millions on millions, doing something other than playing football, and he's a former football player, again, that's where the wheel started really turning for me, in terms of that right there, being able to just simply think about something different, do something, create a solution to some sort of a problem. That is something that is in some way, shape, form, or fashion a way that you can make money. So again, let's go keep reading. I'm reading directly from the article here, folks. It says he saw that bulky cotton sweatshirts under football pads didn't make sense. So he created something better, a tighter, stretchier, more efficient alternative. And that sparked a revolution in performance apparel system. And that's how it started. That right there is how it started. That's what created the brand. That's what created all the, we must protect this house. But that's what created the entire thing that we know as Under Armour. It started right there with that concept. Now, here's where the importance of systems come into play. Here's where it comes into play, because you just simply never know. You simply, let me not say you never know, but you don't really ever know how it's going to connect with people. You don't know what's going to connect with people, and you can't predict this stuff. See, a lot of the times when it comes to business owners and what they try to do is you try to go in and put a plan together. You try to put a game plan together. You try to put something together, and you're constantly shoving ideas down a potential client or potential customer's throat, not really getting a clear answer, a clear indication on if it's something they want. What you should be doing is sitting back, waiting to see what connects, waiting to see what people are really gravitating towards in terms of the things that you do, in terms of the things that you talk about, and then build from that place. Because as his system started to develop, I started to see, and again, I'm coming up, I'm, a young kid coming up, and I'm seeing this brand develop, or seeing this brand grow. I'm starting to see certain things like, look, they don't just sell stretchy t-shirts. They're now, you mean that, like, I remember the first time I ever saw it had to be a college game in which it was the first time that Under Armour actually had full uniforms. And in fact, by the way, I was at the spring game where they finally debuted the Under Armour uniforms at the University of Maryland. It was me and my sister at that spring game. So there's a heart, there's a comfort, it's kind of a feeling of nostalgia whenever I get the opportunity to speak about how they built their business. But I remember seeing over time that they didn't just do the tight, stretchy t-shirts. They started to make visors, the things that go on your face mask. They started to have wristbands and socks and gloves and everything that outfitted a football player, to the point from head to toe, everybody was covered in Under Armour. However, the thing that they marketed, the story that they tell, in fact, let me just put it up here real quick just so you guys see it. The story that they tell, I'm going to show you guys now. If you're looking at this visually, you'll see it started in 1996, which is the exact year that I started playing football. 1996. Yes, this is the exact year, 1996. I was third or fourth grade is like the year I started playing football. So you guys can understand, if you look at the timeline, what it's all about. But yeah, they started doing that. Who we are, prototype, the first one. And again, we're going to be diving into this all week. So 96 prototype, and then tight, stretchy t-shirts right here. You see right there, they have the tight, stretchy t-shirts going on. 1998, they moved to Baltimore, and see how concise this story is. See that this is, oh my God, this is great. This is my first time. I didn't actually, And then, we must protect this house. And they go click, clack, 06, going public. 2006 was my senior year in high school. I graduated in 07. So 2006 is my senior year in high school. Brand house, and now I'm getting into college. And again, if you go back to what I told you before, I was playing for a major high school that had a ton of resources, ton of NFL talent throughout the conference. So I was accepting the fact that I was not going to be good enough to play in the NFL. So I had to create other opportunities for myself. And here's where things really started to connect with me, because it was throughout 07 to 2000 through 2015 where I had to figure out what I was going to be doing outside of playing football. And I saw them grow from just tight, stretchy t-shirts to now they're buying apps, they're connected with fitness, they're doing things that aren't just conducive to football players, but they're doing things that are conducive to the fitness community and doing things that are going to be helping out when it comes to a fitness lifestyle. Now, you guys know me, regular consumers know me. I take a run every single morning and I record myself giving a video every single morning. So that system, again, it's always connected. It was rooted in some of the things and the things that I was seeing as they were building their success, right? So again, as I'm scrolling here, 2018, they start doing big brand deals. 2020, they do some with Steph Curry. And again, we're going to be diving deeper into this throughout the week, and I'll be talking more details on it. But when it comes, the reason I wanted to kind of briefly touch on that is because of right here. When you see these Heat gear, 1997, after delivering Keep It Cool Promise, the first t-shirt Under Armour introduced the now famous cold gear, fabric that keeps athletes warm, dry, and light in cold conditions, and then all season gear, which keeps athletes comfortable between the extremes. All right, so pretty much to the consumer, to the casual consumer, they were known as the company that just has tight, stretchy t-shirts. Right now, as things were growing, I realized, hey, wait a minute. They're not only selling tight, stretchy t-shirts, and they're not the only company selling tight, stretchy t-shirts. All right. So here's what happened. And I'm going to read this to you directly, and then I'm going to show you some examples. So after that, systems, and I'm reading directly. Any Move Swiftly podcast listeners, just know I'm reading directly from the article. And again, like, comment, share, and leave a review on this video so they keep on coming. And I will keep on giving you quality content that's going to improve your business and make it so your staff is walking into your organization really understanding the big picture and making it so they're improving. All right, so here we go. Systems create association. All right, let me take you back, reading directly from the article here. Let me take you back to 2013, NBA Christmas Day. It's a big deal in sports culture. Nationally televised games, jerseys flying off shelves. And in that year, Adidas had just launched new fitted performance t-shirts for the teams. This is a Christmas Day game, folks. This is Christmas Day. So, the family's together. This was back when I was in Maryland. I was living in Maryland at the hometown I grew up in and all that. And this is Christmas Day. And I remember watching it. And this was actually during the time that LeBron, we had the big three, because I'm a Miami Heat fan. LeBron, Wade, Bosh, them boys, they playing on Christmas Day, and I'm talking my mess. And it's kind of the transition. There's always that transition when you're talking about NBA Christmas Day games. There's that transition from, all right, football's coming to an end. Let's get our basketball on and stuff like that. That's sports people. That's what we do. That's what we do as sports folks, right? So they were wearing these jerseys. And my father and sister, I'm reading directly from the article because I have it written down right here. It's their long sleeves. In that year, Adidas had just launched fitted performance t-shirts for the teams. Right. So my father and sister sat down with me to watch the games, and both immediately said, "Oh, NBA, they go into the Under Armour material now." Again, my family's from Trinidad, so my dad he has that accent as he goes, NBA have Under Armour material, and so both of them both of them have been to all, like to my father, my sister, and my mother, they've been to all of my football games. That was the culture that I grew up in. So as Under Armour is growing, they spend their money on Under Armour for me, or they hear me talking about the new Under Armour stuff, or they're talking to other coaches and parents and stuff like that. And the brand Under Armour was becoming very relevant. They gave out a lot of free t-shirts. In fact, the White Oak Warriors, where I played, we were featured in one of their earlier commercials for Under Armour and stuff like that. So the Under Armour brand is really known in our household. But again, as I knew my stuff now, as I'm learning and I'm growing, I'm developing knowledge about shoe companies that are bigger than Under Armour, that have been around way before Under Armour, some of Under Armour's competitors. I responded with this. I nearly flipped the TV and I was telling them, no, it's not Under Armour. It's Adidas, I told them. It's Adidas. It's Adidas. It wasn't Under Armour. Like again, if you go back to the image that I used to start the article, it's this of the Knicks, and it has the tight stretchy t-shirts. But if you look right here, you see it's actually Adidas. It is not Under Armour at all. And I was telling them, let me go back. Systems Create Association. I was like, no, it's Adidas. And that moment stuck with me, because what they were really reacting to was the system Under Armour had put in place. They weren't just selling shirts. They were selling an identity, a mindset, a movement. The casual viewer associated the material with Under Armour, and that's how powerful a system can be. That's how powerful it can be. Is even when it's not the stuff that you put out there. Like think about being Adidas in that situation. Think about your Adidas, and you have now, and actually I'll put it up on the screen just so you see that I went and listen, guys. I looked this stuff up. I don't just put out stuff and not actually have it be able to be confirmed. I looked up. This is the Wall Street Journal. If you're watching this on the Move Swiftly, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you see Wall Street Journal. The title of the article is NBA Christmas Jerseys Now with Sleeves. All right, now with sleeves. If you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, just know I'm reading directly from the Wall Street Journal. And the article was put out obviously during that time, 2013, I believe it was. It says many men don't like the NBA teams will play in new limited edition jerseys from Adidas on Christmas. Fans can buy them starting with Derrick Rose, and Adidas is the one getting the money from all of the sales or whatever it is. However, to the casual viewer, when they see performance gear, they're thinking it's Under Armour. They're thinking, because of the fact that it's tight, stretchy t-shirts, that it's Under Armour, when it actually wasn't. So you start to see how powerful that system can be, how the system can create a mindset to the masses, right? How the system can create that mindset to the masses, and then all of a sudden, even a direct competitor, as strong as that competitor is with Adidas, now you see where now they're in trouble, because you as a competitor. And in fact, he said, no, I'm gonna let this Kevin Plank saying, one of my favorite videos, and I've watched thousands of videos with Kevin Plank and all that. I don't have time to show you all of them, but one of the questions that I remember him answering when he did, I think it was like a lecture at some college that he gave to the business school or whatever. And obviously the biggest question that he has got to answer is, how do you deal with competition? How do you deal with the Nikes, the Pumas, the Adidas, and all that kind of stuff? How do you as Under Armour compete with the big boys, the big dogs, the big homies? Right now, I'll even show you. I have Adidas on my feet right now. Okay. As much as I love the Under Armour brand, look, they gave me the best deal. There's a little outlet right here that I go to in Palm Beach, where again I get my sneakers, get a good little price for it. And I have actually, if we're really talking about shoe brands, as much as I would love to work with Under Armour, I'm open to Brooks, like running companies, shoes that are dealing with the running companies and deal strictly with running businesses and all that. Again, I know how to use my discernment. It's just personally, I've seen what Under Armour has done growing up in that area, and it gave me the mindset to really go after stuff, right? So anyway, it was Yeah, it was, they asked the guy, they asked Kevin Plank, how do you deal with competitors? And then he goes, look, if I go to Nike, if I go see Nike putting out, so here's what he said. I'll break it down like this. All right. And then I'll let him talk a little and then I'll close you guys out. He answered the question like this. He goes, I never looked at Nike as competition. He just looked at it like, look, I went and told people, get out of cotton, get into performance, get out of cotton, get into performance, get out of cotton, get into performance, get out of cotton, get into performance. If Nike, Adidas, Reebok, Puma, you name the shoe company, if they start putting out more performance material, and if somebody goes into the store and they say, look, I want to get some performance gear, 9 times out of 10, they're going to buy the Under Armour stuff. And because that's the way they marketed it. And if all those other companies start putting out more performance material, they've authenticated his concept. Under Armour wins, right? Under Armour wins because the reputation to the casual fan, to the public, is that if you go into a store looking or wanting tight, stretchy t-shirts, then you're going to go get some Under Armour, right? That's what he did. So there's nothing Nike can do. And you've authenticated his brand. There's nothing Adidas can do. You've authenticated his brand by putting out tight, stretchy t-shirts. So by doing this that Adidas did, right, that Christmas Day, you've authenticated his concept, which is focus on tight, stretchy t-shirts, focus on the performance gear for the athletes, and then boom, we could just keep going back and forth, and we could really do it. What is your system? What is your system? And how does it connect? Your system is to connect with these big time athletes, these big celebrity athletes, put them in all the Under Armour gear and allow things to be authenticated a certain way. And that's how it built. So again, I'm going to close you guys out too, but I've got to play one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite clips, one of my favorite things that he has ever said, because he nails it. Again, you're listening to someone that obviously has watched a Kevin Plank video or two, right? But this right here, what he says in terms of great brands are just great, incredible stories, and the growth mindset that it takes. That's what humbles you enough to allow you to figure out what the system is you need to be a part of, and then go pay someone to coach you up to help keep improving that system. So I'm gonna let it play, and then I'll close you guys out. We'll talk about it.
Great brands are like great stories, and every great story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And our job is to make sure that every chapter of our stories makes sense to the one in front of it, makes sense to the one after it.
Yours is obviously a high growth company. What advice do you have for others who are trying to skyrocket the same way that you did with your company?
Well, we're in our 16th year, heading in our 17th year, and we grew 38% last year. So we're still a growth company, and I think everybody feels it. The best advice, one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got is, a lot of people spend time in the attics and in the basements and holding on and saying, is now the right time? Is the market right? Look what's happening out there. And the best advice I ever got from someone that said, hey kid, find out if your product can sell. And before the lawyers and the patents and those things, and it's important, there's a time to do that, but you're not going to win the battle of public opinion in a courtroom. Find out if your product can sell. And if it can sell, do it faster and do it better than anybody else. And if you do that, at some level, you'll always be okay. I don't know the patent for tight, stretchy t-shirts, but we've taken that first launch product and we've evolved one chapter at a time, beyond just a stretchy t-shirt into not tight fitting shirts, but into loose fitting shirts, into shorts, and then from men's into women's, and so on and so forth. Right. And there's a lot of stretchy t-shirts that are sold today, and some without the Under Armour logo. Come on. We're doing okay.
Period. Point blank, end of sentence. Go find out if your product can sell, and then do it faster, do it better than anyone else. That's what inspired Move Swiftly, man. That is what, when I really honed in on that word swiftly. Look, I'm not the only one that talks about teamwork. I'm not the only one that says innovate or speaks on innovative teamwork and all that. But again, I figured out what's going to be the thing that I'm known for, what's going to be my introduction, what's going to be my delivery, where am I going to plant my flag, who am I going to look to serve, why are they going to want it from Aswan Crookshank, all that kind of stuff. And on some level, I'm still okay as an educator, as a person that sells intellectual property. That's what you have to do. This is the powerful thing that comes with developing a system. All right. What is the system? How does it connect? And how are you going to be improving it? All right. So as far as what's on the agenda throughout the week, tomorrow, top 5 ways on how to systematize your business. And on Wednesday, on Wintrepreneur Wednesday, we're going to dive more into Kevin Plank's story in terms of how he built it, what he was all about. And then a Thursday, we're going to really get into how to put that system to work, because it's not good. Listen, you can, and this is where a lot of folks get in trouble, because you start thinking, all right, look, we're going to create a system. That means I got to go plan this and plan that. No, the system has to go out and be tested, and it has to be tested, just like he said, incredibly fast. You have to make sure it's moving incredibly fast. Figure out what worked in the system, what didn't work in the system, tweak it, then put it out again, tweak it, put it out again, tweak it, put it out again. Constantly adjusting the system based on what the consumer, what the client, what the people that you see as yourself, the people that you feel like you can serve, what are they going to be needing, and how do you constantly serve them? All right. So as I've mentioned, as I've been doing, I'm working on it. I'm doing a better job of mentioning. Please, again, make sure you like, comment, share, leave a review. Send this to somebody who you actually know needs to hear it. The main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I'm doing, to really get plugged in and to really get the most out of the work I do and the work that is here to help you and serve you. It's makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. We can shop. You can join the Patreon. You could book me to speak to your organization, and you could join the Patreon link, the group of business owners that are going to be here to help you be held accountable and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.